That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Art muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how they get it? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their strange machines. How did they get up there?
What up, what up, what up? Good evening, happy Wednesday. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Grateful to be here with you guys again. Shout outs to my poets, writers, content creators. Shout out to the host for this evening. If you're not familiar with Wednesdays, this is typically the day where we put a lot of the drama and Hollywood aside and we talk about some things that's going on in our areas, our neighborhoods, our environment. Give a warm welcome to Miss Sydney. Like, share, repost. Let other people know we're on. Put your thinking caps on. Grab you something to drink, something to snack on, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sydney, and today's episode is going to be part social commentary and part scientific exploration. I really wanted to talk about this topic, especially given the given the news and the all sorts of stuff are going on right now within the kind of weight loss body standard facet of culture right now. Number one, something that I've been seeing a lot is a lot of people are talking about the Wicked stars and their seemingly gaunt and unhealthy body appearances. Ariana Grande and I'm totally blanking on the name of the other actress. Both of them have been showing up to be quite skinny looking, which has gotten people talking about the body standards that currently exist within Hollywood and popular culture. And then also another aspect, which has been in the news a lot lately, is the use of GLP-1 drugs, which include Ozempic, Wegovy, and a bunch of other different variations of the medication. So I thought it would be a good time to kind of talk about the unrealistic body standards in society today and how it relates to self-esteem, some of the decisions people are making, the solutions that are put out there, and the potential risks of those particular solutions, as well as the consequences of these unrealistic body standards on our mental health. So my 3-year-old daughter is coming over for some reason. gosh. She put on my husband's shirt, put her head through the sleeve of the shirt. Nolly, come here. So currently in society, roughly 79% of Americans feel unhappy with their body. Body dissatisfaction is a huge component of these unrealistic body standards because, as we've probably figured out from companies and how they market to us, if they can convince us that we are unsatisfied with our life, with our bodies, with our whatever, they can convince us to buy things. A lot of companies have gotten very good at convincing us that all we need to do to fix our lives is to buy our way there. So that's going to be definitely an undertone throughout this particular episode, because the body positivity trajectory is very heavily influenced by both popular culture and the commercial side of our existence. We are swayed by all sorts of marketing techniques every day, and how we perceive it is going to have a big impact on how we feel about ourselves. So yeah, it's really important to talk about, especially because body image, while it sounds really superficial, it can have a very significant impact on a person. Body image issues are very closely connected with self-harm, with suicidality, and there are long-term health conditions that can arise as a result of body image. One study with the Mental Health Foundation in the UK found that 1 in 5 UK adults have felt shame because of their body image just in the last year. In the US, I believe that's 1 in 8, even though I would arguably say it's probably closer to equivalent with the UK. But that's just my hunch. That's not actually based on any research that I found, but I suspect more people are downplaying the impacts out of embarrassment, or they just don't recognize certain behaviors as body image issues. Because body image problems can manifest in a lot of different ways. One, it can show up as excessive need for weight loss. You put an emphasis on how your body looks, and you can get obsessed with, or at least preoccupied. There's a difference. Obsession is where you're not able to really handle the thoughts and they kind of overwhelm you, whereas preoccupation is more so it comes up in your mind a lot. You think about it a lot. It's on your mind. So this, your body image will affect how you eat. It'll affect how you exercise. It'll affect how you dress yourself, how you put makeup on, the products you put on your body, and the products that you put inside your body. And with people who have body image issues, you're more likely to overuse or misuse these tactics to achieve a body image that doesn't necessarily fit what you naturally would look like. And of course, there's nothing wrong with accentuating features that are important to you and make you feel good about yourself. But you don't want to get to the point where you rely on these things to make yourself happy, which is where a lot of people find themselves, where they can't feel confident unless they're in a certain outfit, or they can't feel comfortable leaving the house without makeup. And I say this from personal experience. While it may not, especially right now, it may not look like I'm very fashion conscious or care. I went through this time period as well. Probably in high school to early college was when this hit its peak, where I would wear high heels. I was wearing like low cut shirts and things that accentuated my body. I've always been fairly thin just because of how I eat. I eat like a bird. But I had a lot of deep-seated unhappiness with how I looked because I think I kind of, part of it was fitting in, but then part of it was a health phobia. Like my dad had a stroke, my mom had a brain tumor, and I was very fascinated with science. So I was always reading about these like crazy diseases and like watching people. I was very much into 600-Pound Life and stuff like that. And even the other end of the spectrum where I was watching, it was a docu-series in Britain about teens that had bulimia and different food-related eating disorders. So I was very preoccupied, as I said, with how I looked. And I remember in mid-high school, I was on the verge of anorexia. I was trying to reduce how much I ate to get this figure that I thought I wanted. And it stemmed from like, I was literally growing. When I started puberty and everything like that, of course my weight changed. I went from a scrawny little 98-pound skinny thing to, I started getting curves and everything like that. But the change in body weight triggered a lot of fear in me. Also, my dad has type 2 diabetes, and I was afraid of that as well. So I became a lot more preoccupied with making sure that I didn't get overweight or anything like that because I was afraid. And I also became very self-conscious about my acne, especially because of my diet. I ate a lot of carbs and stuff like that. I would get not acne per se, but like frequent pimples around my chin and my nose. And I was embarrassed by that. I was embarrassed by like my eyebrows are quite full, and I was always embarrassed by the fact that there was like a tiny bit in the middle. And there's just pieces of myself that I hadn't learned to love yet. And as a result, I started to do weird things trying to become skinnier. I was like fluctuating between exercising and restricting my diet. And it got to the point that by the time I went to college in my first year, I was trying to reinvent myself and like redevelop my style and create this new person because I was somewhere new. And it got to the point where if I didn't put on makeup properly, I felt like I couldn't go outside, and I would have a panic attack thinking that people were going to notice that my eyeliner wasn't equal, or that my mascara wasn't perfect, or that my like outfit wasn't like suitable, whatever. Like I would get upset over really minor things, and it would get to the point where if I couldn't feel comfortable enough, I just wouldn't go anywhere. Like I would cancel plans on people just because I didn't like the way it looked. And during this time period, a lot happened. I'm not going to go into the full story because that would take forever. But I ended up having the realization that this obsession with my look was not only not beneficial, but it also was kind of pointless because people really didn't notice. People were not. It was around the time that I recognized that people weren't actually looking at me all the time. I always felt like I was getting, that self-centered mentality where everyone notices you and people must be looking at you whenever you're in public. It was when that kind of broke down in my mind, and I realized that like most people are paying attention to themselves or what they're doing and are not actually paying attention. And unless you're like drawing attention to yourself with like crazy hair or a really unique outfit, most people really aren't going to notice. And so I started to work on how I perceived myself, because I realized that was a big component, is my expectations for what I should be doing and what everyone else is doing and how I compared to that. So it took a while into my 20s for me to really start accepting it. So it gave me some understanding of what it feels like to have this. I was very, very lucky to be raised by parents that were health focused and not appearance focused, because that can be very, very challenging if you're surrounded by friends or a household that has those tendencies and preoccupations, especially in your formative years, your early teens. Having a parent that kind of reinforces that you need to look a certain way, you need to act a certain way, you need to dress a certain way, can contribute more significantly to this body shame if it's deeply ingrained in you. Also, highly negative experiences, bullying and stuff like that, can also deepen these body image issues as well. Bullying is a huge factor in youth suicides. Without having the statistics in front of me, I would hazard a guess that it's at least 75% of child. I'm going to say child because I mean under teens, you're a kid. I would say like at least 75% of them are somehow related to bullying of some sort. So yeah, body shame is not something to be underestimated. It is not just oh, I don't like the way I look, I'm not pretty enough. I'm like, it can be very, very deeply unsettling and disturbing to the person experiencing it, and it can be very hard to pull yourself out of that type of thinking, especially, as I said, if you're in an environment where this kind of behavior is reinforced. And it tracks about 44% of participants surveyed in a eating disorder survey found that almost 45% of people had been body shamed at least once in the past year. And 94% of them were female. 94% of females have experienced body shame, and 64% of teen males have experienced body shame. And I would hazard a guess that it might actually be higher, but males interpret this differently. They don't see, they're more used to the like more playful making fun of people, where females, I think, they don't really joke around with each other as much. But again, that's just my kind of guess about that. But yeah, disproportionately, females feel more of that body shame than men do. And with an increase in body shame, this can turn into body dysmorphia, where what you see in the mirror doesn't reflect how you feel and how you think you should look, and how and you get deep distress looking at yourself. And sometimes it can be so bad that it actually distorts how you see yourself, and it makes you think that you're actually fatter than you are, or have more glaring issues than you do. And with body dysmorphia, 1 in 50, about 1 to 2%, 2.5% of the population experiences body dysmorphia. And body dysmorphia is problematic because this can lead to eating disorders such as anorexia and bulimia. Anorexia is where you dramatically restrict the food that you're able to eat, or the quantity that you eat, or when you're able to eat, as a concerted effort to restrict your weight gain. They might simultaneously overuse dietary drugs or supplements. They may just not eat altogether. It can be severe enough for somebody to lose their life as a result of not eating. And then there's also bulimia. Bulimia is where a person will binge and purge as a result of this disorder. They don't have the ability to restrict themselves from eating. And so what they'll do is they'll eat large quantities of food because they're hungry, they're giving into their needs, but then they throw up the food that they've eaten. And so it negates the absorption of that food, and they technically are not getting nutrition this way either. And this allows the person to eat while still not gaining weight. This one is also very problematic. It can cause esophageal issues. It can cause issues with your teeth, eroding away at your teeth, eroding away at your mouth. You can get sores. If it gets bad enough, you can get like stomach ulcers or other things from the acid constantly coming up. Sometimes I've heard stories, examples of people it getting so bad that even when they do try and eventually eat normally, they can't, because their body's so trained to throw up that they have to retrain their body not to throw up when they eat. So it can become quite severe. And both anorexia and bulimia can be paired with compulsive exercising, which is another sign that somebody might be having body dysmorphia, where they feel like they have to exercise or they're going to gain weight. And yeah, so anorexia and bulimia can both be associated with compulsive exercise, or, as I said earlier, taking excess like weight loss drugs and stuff like that. So yeah, eating disorders are no joke, and they're unfortunately fatal in certain circumstances. I've heard of many stories of people who've lost their battle with eating disorders and starved, or experienced other repercussions as a result of them not eating. It can cause heart problems. It can cause liver, kidney problems. It's quite, it can be extremely destructive to the body. And so it's really, really important, if you do start to show signs, or if somebody you know is showing signs of an eating disorder, you need to get them help. Eating disorders are very, very difficult to heal. It takes a lot of both physical type of redirection, especially with something like bulimia, and it also affects the mind significantly. So they need a lot of psychiatric help as well. They've done studies and found that roughly 30 to 50% of individuals with anorexia will relapse within the first year following treatment discharge. And another longitudinal study, which is a study that goes on over a long period of time, found that of people who achieved remission, or like the disorder kind of went on the back burner, from anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating disorder, relapse rates ranged from 35% to 41% over a 9-year follow-up period. So over almost a decade, 35 to 40% of people who experienced an eating disorder and went into remission ended up relapsing, coming back to it. So it's incredibly challenging. It can be incredibly challenging to break these cycles if somebody was to develop a mental, an eating disorder. I will also add, it's not always directly linked to body image issues. I have also read and heard of cases where somebody developed it as a result of an assault, as a way of making themselves unattractive or punishing themselves, or whatever mental tools they were using to cope with the stress. I've heard of a trauma directly contributing to the development of an eating disorder, but it is also very common for your own interpretation of your body to be a major contributing factor to the development of eating disorders. And to add to that, mental disorders, there's a couple mental disorders that also tend to co-occur with bulimia, anorexia, stuff like that. Depression, anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorder are also very common to co-occur alongside eating disorders. So a person is not only going to have dysfunctional eating, but the way that they handle stress is also abnormal. And there is also an effect on your mood as well. So if you have a problem with eating disorders, you're typically going to have a mood disorder because of the strain being put on your body nutritionally and energetically and stuff like that. Just like with drug and alcohol addiction, being in the environment that triggered that behavior in the first place is highly likely to encourage a relapse. And there's a lot of different factors that can affect somebody's likelihood to relapse. And so it's super, super important that if you're going through a recovery from a disorder like this, you really have to work on changing your environment and bringing yourself into positive situations alongside people that understand what's going on and are willing to support you, rather than people that are willing to tear you down. And one of the big complications to this, which I'm sure you might guess I'd go into, is our exposure externally to these types of encouragements. We are at a point in history where it's very hard to escape all of the different expectations society puts on us. We are surrounded by advertisements all the time. We are on our phones almost all the time. And so we're exposed to a tremendous amount of footage and pictures and commentary and all sorts of information that tricks us into thinking that we're not good enough the way that we are. We see billboards on the freeway that advertise for weight loss drugs or plastic surgery or makeup or clothing, all showing people like, oh, I'm confident now that I have this particular thing. I'm happy now that I use this certain product. And so it tricks us into thinking that we just have to buy the next thing to help us achieve our greatest self, which is not accurate. I promise you, you cannot buy the future that you want. You cannot buy the self that you want. You have to become the self that you want. And products can help you, but they're not going to ever be the actual solution. But this is something that commercials try to convince you as a way of getting you to buy their product. They expect you to basically see the thing and think that, oh, if I keep buying this, I'm going to keep seeing this result. And so, yeah, all of these advertisements all around us are affecting the way that we think, are affecting the way that we think about ourselves, are affecting the way we think of our environment and the people around us. And they've gotten very, very good at swaying the opinions of the people around them, or of the people they want to be customers, by preying on our insecurity and making us feel like we are not adequate the way that we are, which everyone is. It's so cliche, but you're perfect the way that you are. You really don't need all of these products that companies are pushing on you. Sure, if there is something that's bothering you that you need a remedy for because it's actually affecting your life and your ability to be happy, that's different. But you shouldn't expect a certain product to actually fix parts about yourself that you don't like. So, yeah. But because people are still, also before I forget too, we all think about the advertisements, like what we see, if anybody reads magazines anymore, but like stuff in magazines, stuff on billboards when we go to the mall, stuff we see on the posters. But we're also being advertised to all the time in the videos that we watch. When we watch YouTube, people who watch TikTok, even people who are on less advertised sites like Blue Sky, or Threads. I don't know if they have advertisements yet, but you're always being advertised to and covertly. Sure, there are those company sponsored, like you can tell, it's an advertisement, but stuff we get in the mail, stuff we get in our email, stuff we get, even our friends, like when I recommend this product, it worked for me. Social media influencers that hint at it when they, I achieved this makeup look using this product. Everywhere we go, we're being influenced to buy something, even if it isn't intentional. When we watch influencers showing their routine, showing their bathroom, showing their house, we see things. And if we see things enough times, it'll stick in our brain and it'll make us more likely to buy those products. But then also, if it like fits our aesthetic or whatever, like it's going to kind of live rent free in our brains if we are not especially if we're not evaluating the way that we think and the way that we kind of interpret our environment. It takes a lot of work to trick yourself out of the scheme, the capitalistic scheme that wants you to buy pretty much everything from them. So it's very, very hard to escape, because even the stuff that we think aren't advertisements end up turning into advertisements in our brains. Because if you see it and it's familiar to you, you are more likely to buy that product if you see it in the store, because your brain is going to have a familiarity association with it, and it'll be more likely to notice it and all sorts of stuff like that. So just being exposed to all these different products and the knowledge that it exists increases your likelihood to at least a small degree of you actually using those particular products if you encounter them again. That's why you see, like if you've ever done an order with a company online, they'll constantly send out, hey, we have this new product. Hey, it's been a while. We haven't seen you. You want to do a new order? Like they come at you multiple times because eventually it wears people down and they're more likely to be like, you know what? Okay. Or like they'll see something that they do like and does fit what they want, and they're more likely to come back and buy those things. So our exposure to these products is having an effect. One of the studies done with the Mental Health Foundation in the UK found that 1 in 5 UK adults said images on social media had caused them to worry about their body image. And this one's particularly sad. And this also goes to show how dangerous this influence is. 1 in 8 adults have experienced suicidal thoughts or feelings because of concerns about their body image. So all of these different advertisements slowly chip away at our feelings of contentment and happiness, and subconsciously trick us into believing that we need various purchases to make ourselves better, which is not true. And so as a result, we've been seeing an increase in the amount of people using superficial methods to lose weight or change their bodies. The 3 that I'm going to talk about mainly for the remaining time is the first one's Botox. I'll also talk about plastic surgery, and then oh my god, why am I pulling blank? And then the GLP-1, the Wegovy, and why am I blanking? I talk about it a lot. I have it. But first, I'm going to start with Botox. It is probably the most well understood or most famous example of body modification, or at least one of them. Yeah, it's made fun of a lot in the media. I'm sure we've all seen clips making fun of celebrities that can't move their faces because they've gotten Botox. What Botox is, there's a toxin called botulinum toxin. It's produced by a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. And because it's a toxin, you can inject it into the muscle, and it basically prevents the nerve from releasing acetylcholine, which basically transmits information to the brain and creates the brain activity. So when you paralyze that particular nerve, it prevents your muscle in that location from being able to move. It doesn't last forever. You do have to keep getting repeat shots of Botox because they only last about 4 to 6 months. The nerves do come back and the muscle will start working again. But it temporarily stops the movement of muscles in those areas, and thus a lot of people get it hoping that it will reduce lines. Very, very commonly used in the face. I've seen like a lot with the eyebrows, the forehead, sometimes around the eyes. I haven't seen it as much, but I've seen people do it around the mouth. But it's in the hope that you won't get wrinkles because you can't move those muscles. This particular not chemical, bacteria has like we've known about it for a while. We've known about botulism. Botulinum toxin causes botulism if you consume it, and it's found naturally. It's found in soil, streams, water sources. It can also be found in the intestinal tract of different animals like mammals and fish. But it, yeah, it originally was more of a toxin and natural, naturally existing in nature. But in the 70s, they started to investigate it for the use of cross eyes when people, like, their eyes aren't moving properly. They were trying to use it to stop that kind of eye movement. But then they noticed that it also helped reduce wrinkles in the skin. And so by the almost 1990s, 1989, they rebranded it as Botox and started using it both for being cross-eyed, but they added on eyelid twitching. And then in 2000, it was approved for the treatment of involuntary muscle contractions. In 2002, they started to use it for frown lines. 2004, they started to use it for excessive sweating. 2010, it was approved for the treatment of chronic migraines and lip spasticity. 2011, it was approved for urinary incontinence. And by 2013, that's really where it took off as a cosmetic use. They would use it to treat like crow's feet, where you get the wrinkles in the corner of your eyes. So it has a number of biologically beneficial purposes. However, overwhelmingly, it's been used since 2013 for beautification and for cosmetic purposes. So one of the issues is that it can cause changes in your muscles. It can cause damage. When you overuse Botox, it can cause malfunctions in your face that, again, these are the type of things that comedians like to make fun of. There's one particular SNL skit I remember seeing where, like, her eyebrows up here, and yeah, so it's definitely the butt of a lot of jokes, but it's not something that you really want to mess around with because it can have negative effects on you. As I said, it can weaken your muscles. If you use it too much, you can lose the tone of your face, and so your muscles can sag or not look correctly, not work correctly. My bad. Sorry, my daughter drank the last of my water before I started. You also start, like, your body can forget how to do facial expressions. They found that some people can forget to frown or forget to smile because of their Botox injections. Higher doses. Also, if you just like with some other medications, if you use it for a long period of time, it can have a reduced impact over time, where it takes more to have the same effect. So you might have to start getting doses more frequently, or you might lose the inability to actually use it. There's also the price point. It can be quite expensive. A series of injections can cost upwards of $500, and depending on where you get it. If you're Another thing, which I'll mention because I thought of it in relation to this, don't go for cheap treatments. If you're doing anything with your body, don't go to those rip-off centers. I promise, if you want to get actual Botox, if you want to get plastic surgery, if you want to get medications, do not go to some offhand source that your friend knows or whatever. Go to an actual doctor, an actual clinic, because there are there are cases that I have heard where people get fake or contaminated or incorrectly done procedures and have disruptive at the least consequences and at the worst potentially fatal. So make sure that if you are going to be doing this, you go through the right avenues, you go through somebody that is an expert, because you do not want to mess around with especially like the injection of needles. You don't want to mess around with a place that is less reputable. You can get diseases from dirty needles. You can have infections. There's all sorts of consequences that can occur from poorly done procedures that you do not want to face the consequences of. So make sure that you are going somewhere where they know what they're doing and they have licenses, and vet the place. Don't just go in because, oh, well, they're cheap. Don't do that. I promise. Another impact that I heard recently, which I found quite intriguing, parents that are using Botox, your child is not going to learn emotions the same way, because when you get Botox, it can limit your ability to express yourself on your face. And there's a lot of like micro expressions that are very important for human communication. And when you're getting this Botox, it can actually prevent your child from learning how to like proper communication, and it can affect their ability to understand emotions. I thought that was really fascinating, and I definitely wonder if that's something we're going to see into the future, where kids are getting poorer at understanding emotions because of the modifications people are getting to their bodies. I've already seen videos of kids freaking out because their parent got some sort of cosmetic procedure. I've even, when my mom had a brain tumor when I was like 4, something like that. When she came home from the hospital, her whole face was swollen because she had the surgery right about here. I was afraid of her. And the first thing I said to her was, why did you do that? Like, I was afraid by the way that she looked. And I can't imagine to a young kid, like seeing your mom come home and having like a different face. It could be quite impactful on the kids themselves. So yeah, Botox, if you really need it, I guess not my cup of tea. I'm not a fan of needles at all. But I do want to say, for anybody that feels like they need it, you don't need it. You are amazingly gorgeous the way that you are. And to me, one of the things that I've done to kind of reframe it in my mind is that the wrinkles that you get, the scars that you get, the stretch marks that you get by living your life are trophies that you've lived life. It's an example that you've had emotions, that you've experienced love and have had friends and had joy and gone to amazing places and experienced things. It's like a record of the things that you've experienced in the life that you've lived. And so I like to see them that way, because then it makes you feel proud to actually have those markers, that you've experienced life and have earned the mishaps on our skin. So I know it's hard because we're surrounded by like, oh, you need to look like this. But to me, I think it's more worth it to try and reframe how we actually see blemishes on our body. And as long as they're not causing harm to us, I feel like more people should work on actually accepting what they have. As I said, as long as it's not like disrupting your ability to live a normal life. So besides Botox, the other form of modification is plastic surgery and fillers. Plastic surgery is where you go in and like reform parts of your body, whether you're getting bigger breasts or you're changing the way that your face looks. You might like shape your nose, shape your eyebrows, change your face in some way, your body in some way. And then there's also filler, where they inject saline or other concoctions under your skin. Very, very commonly, I see it in cheeks, lips, things that people want to be plumper. And then there's also like you can get implants. I've heard of people, obviously we all know like breast implants, but I've also seen people get like muscle implants, a lot more common with men. But I've seen people get them like so they can have abs, muscle implants in their legs. So there's a bunch of different things people might do. Another form is like the butt injections and stuff like that, where you're also injecting stuff into your body to make those areas look bigger. It's become quite common for people to go in and get these types of procedures to give themselves the shape of the body that they want. And again, I will acknowledge some people get this for reasons other than their self-perception. People will go through this procedure if they're transitioning. People will go through this procedure if they have like a deformation or something that affects the way that they breathe or eat or walk or whatever. Like there's a lot of reasons people might need to get one of these. But a lot of the time it is used for cosmetic purposes, where people are wanting to change the way that their body looks. And again, these procedures can be quite pricey, and you have to see a reputable doctor. These are surgeries, these are injectables, these use different chemicals and silicone implants and all like things that are being put inside your body. And if you do not go to a reputable doctor, you can experience significant harm. I have heard horror stories of the one that sticks out in my mind the most is this woman got breast implants from some cheap clinic, and she like years later was having issues with illnesses and she wasn't really sure what was happening. So she went to the doctor and they noticed that there was like an infection or something related to her breast implants. And so they removed them, and the bag of silicone or whatever was in there, which normally was clear, was black with mold. And both of them were that. So they were like releasing toxins into her body as a result of these botched implants. I've heard of them like breaking inside somebody. I've heard of them, people getting like flesh-eating bacteria just from the injection or the surgery itself. So it's super, super important to only see people that are licensed professionals and do not do back alley stuff like that. Also, in regards to any of these things that I'm talking about, the Botox, the plastic surgery, the GLP-1 drugs, don't do it yourself. Don't self-prescribe. Again, go to professionals, because people have killed themselves trying to do this stuff themselves. This is not a DIY type of thing that you should be doing. There are people that have died from botulism. There are people that have died from contracting other issues as a result of them self-administering various things to their body, buying stuff over the internet. If you are not familiar with the product, don't just buy it from wherever. Licensed professionals. I promise it is not worth the risk of getting something cheaper if it's going to cause all manner of injuries, illnesses, and the consequence, the permanent consequence. So yeah. And then the last one that I want to mention is the GLP-1 drugs, which they were originally used to Ozempic, that's the name. These are drugs that were originally created for diabetes. It was to help people who struggle with diabetes, help them lose weight, because with diabetes, it can make it more difficult to lose weight because of the way that your body treats insulin. Insulin has a big impact on how your body processes the fat inside the body. And yeah, they originally invented this for people with diabetes, but they found that once people found out that it helped with weight loss, people started taking this just for weight loss. Started with celebrities, of course, but it has gone over into the general population as well. About 1 in 8 adults say that they're currently taking a GLP-1 drug, such as Ozempic or Wegovy. Those are the most popular ones. And 1 in 5 adults have said that they have taken a GLP-1 drug for weight loss purposes or to treat diabetes, heart disease, or other chronic conditions. Of course, as we saw for the other, for the body issue question, women are more likely to take it than men. Across the age group, it's about 15% of women take it, 9% of men. And this is highest among adults that are 50 to 64. But it is still taken by people who are trying to lose weight, particularly influencers. That one of the viral things going around right now is Ozempic face, because with how Ozempic and the other ones kind of treat your body, that really fast weight loss can result in facial sagging or like skin sagging. And so they're literally, their faces have dropped and have this very distinctive look to it as a result of them taking those drugs. But again, this is something that you should be taking under the advice of a doctor. This isn't something that you should self-prescribe on your own, because obviously, like anything, drugs can have unintended consequences on your body, and you need to make sure that it is actually a suitable fit for your body, for your lifestyle, for your goals, because there are different forms of these drugs. Besides Ozempic and Wegovy, there's also Zepbound and Mounjaro and a couple other different types. And they do slightly different things. So you want to make sure that you're actually seeing a professional if you plan to use these. Additionally, it can have some negative side effects. And so, again, it's important for you to make sure you're under the guidance of a doctor, because if you take too much, it can cause gastrointestinal problems, which can cause other problems. And then it's also like it's an injectable, so you do have to be careful about your care. Like when you're injecting anything, you have to be hygienic and whatnot. So it's really important to have this professional guidance when you're taking stuff like this. You also have, like, if you're pregnant, you shouldn't take it. If you have a stomach issue, a certain stomach issues, you shouldn't take it. If you have thyroid issues, you shouldn't take it. So again, it's not something that people should be taking lightly. It's a medication, just like all the other stuff that you might need to take for other problems. And you really don't want to mess around with the chemicals that you put into your body, just for your personal safety. But unfortunately, this is a drug that is being abused in certain situations, particularly when young kids get their hands on it. I have heard reports of teenagers getting their hands on it or getting a hold of fake versions and getting sick. If you're getting it from like secondary sources, there is a chance of contamination or getting something that is not is not what it says it is. So yeah, you have to be really careful. And just like with any of these disease or any of these treatments, overdoing the treatments can cause significant health repercussions. In 2023, there was a woman who died of gastrointestinal illnesses, or died of a gastrointestinal illness after taking Ozempic. And there's been multiple people that have died as a result of taking Ozempic, because it was basically, it can shut your stomach down. Like, it can cause infections in your organs. So it's not unheard of for people to have died from using Ozempic. A UK study from 2025 found so far 82 people have died as a result of adverse reactions from this drug. So again, it is not something that you should mess with and just take willy-nilly. So yeah, a lot to talk about. There's a lot in our culture that really creates this culture, I guess, where we feel like we have to be perfect. We have to adhere to certain standards, and it can lead people to make choices that are not necessarily beneficial to them. A lot of these different purchasable changes, and I say that injections, surgeries, whatnot, they can be very costly money-wise. People can put themselves into debt for these things. But also, if the need is so strong that a person feels like they have to buy these products, that desperation can lead them to buying products that are not quality products. So yeah, it's really important to, one, if you're going to try to change your body, talk to doctors first. Make sure that your goal is healthy for you. Make sure that your doctor knows that you're going through this process, because they might be able to give you advice on what to eat, how to exercise safely, like different methods that you can do. They'll help make sure that you don't lose weight too fast, because that can also be problematic. And then they can also monitor you and make sure that things aren't going wrong, mineral deficiencies or other kinds of like your body's not getting enough nutrients or whatnot. Like there's issues that can happen, and certain people are at higher risk of issues with rapid weight loss. So it's important to consult with your doctor as you're doing these things. That way they can track the health with you and make sure that you're doing things in a way that is safe and healthy. Another thing, as I keep saying and will continue to reiterate, seek professional help. Do not go to the back rooms. Don't go for the cheap stuff. Don't go for the, oh, I found it online as a knockoff. You do not want to mess around with products that you don't know, companies that you don't know, back alley offices. Go for actual medical professionals, because chances are the chances of you experiencing repercussions that severe with a doctor is far slimmer than with like some random company. And then lastly, if you are experiencing any symptoms of body dysmorphia where you feel like you can't go outside, you feel like so hopeless, you feel suicidal, you feel like hurting yourself, anything that is affecting your ability to function in relation to your body, please seek mental health help as well, because oftentimes the feelings that we have about our body are how we think and not how we are. We are, as I said, surrounded by people that do not care about us and only want our money. And it's incredibly sad to think that there are people that take their lives just because they feel like they don't look good enough. And I want everyone to know that you are beautiful just the way you are. I know it sounds so cliche to say, but it's so true. Like, we don't need all these products to be amazing human beings. Like, we can be we can feel good about ourselves by being there for the people around us, by being a good friend, by making somebody's day, complimenting somebody, feeding ourselves good things. Like, there's other ways that we can make ourselves feel better about ourselves that don't involve buying what some company is trying to shill to us. So I wanted to leave you guys with a short little poem that I think really aligns with what we talked about today, as just a reminder that you are more than what they're trying to sell you. We cannot forget that our humanity is the most important part of our bodies, and we can be the most wonderful human beings and have a non-functioning body. Like, it is our brain that makes us human. And yeah, that was very poorly worded way to say that our humanness is the most important thing, and we shouldn't feel bad about the packaging that is on the outside of that body, because just like every organic thing, it'll eventually go away. We don't get to live forever, unfortunately, but what we can do is create a life that allows us to enjoy who we are and improve everyone else's lives around us without worrying about what some stupid company or celebrity says that we should look like. So this poem is called Human Sacrifices, and I think it really hones in on this whole dynamic. Day by day, we leave our remains scattered hapless across tattered landscapes of digital billboards and lists of our lives. With every door, we enter and willingly smile. We submit more of ourselves to faceless potentates, with no thoughts for the private, trusting them blindly, with two-faced denying they'd trade us for money while secretly dealing our informational honey. With profiles like criminals, we post all our meat and donate free peace, yet somehow get shocked when our identities leak. Cautious we should be of all reckless childs. Take back your custody, demand your own trial, revoke all your data that they've claimed for themselves, for your life is yours and not a doll for their shelf. So with that, I hope you guys learned a lot from this. I hope I put some of this propaganda into perspective, and I'll definitely come back around on this because there is a lot of facets to this whole industry. I might kind of go into the food industry next time. But I just really wanted to remind people that you're so much more than the products that you think make you who you are. And I also, I want to throw out there for anybody, there are a lot of different organizations that help with eating disorders. If you think you are struggling with an eating disorder and need help, they have a 24-hour crisis helpline that can help connect you to help and to people that are able to support you in your journey. One of the hotlines is 1-866-662-1235. I'll put that in the chat. But that is a free help. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. A free helpline with the National Alliance for Eating Disorders. And they would be able to connect you with treatment that can help with eating disorders. If you have a friend or family member, it's a little bit challenging because obviously you can't force somebody to accept treatment, but do your best to be there for them. Try to convince them to get help. If they are in danger of actually like taking their life, you can, with the help of a psychologist and a doctor, get them admitted. But whatever you do, don't abandon them. Be there for them. It might be difficult to watch somebody go through that. You might want to give up if they don't want to help themselves, but these eating disorders can have a huge impact on the brain and can really affect their ability to see their reality as it is. And so it's very, very important to be there, just like with addiction, any type of addiction. Their support system is very, very much a part of the solution. And so if you have somebody, if there's somebody in your life that you care about that has this type of disorder, be there for them, because that's going to be one of the most important parts of their recovery. So again, with that, I hope you learned a lot. I hope this helped, and I will see you guys on Friday. I'll be back with another topic next week on Wednesday.
Construct, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, maybe rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired as a friend on a slack for a week. I haven't been getting sleep, long in this singing until I surpass.